I still remember the day my dad pulled me aside like it was yesterday. We were sitting in the quiet corner of our kitchen, the smell of coffee lingering in the air, and he looked different. Not angry, not sad, but like he was carrying something so heavy that even the walls around him seemed to feel it. "Don't tell anyone what I'm about to tell you," he said, his voice low, almost trembling. My heart skipped a beat. Usually, he doesn't get like this. He's the type of man who laughs at everything, who never lets the weight of the world show. But this was different. I nodded, trying to appear calm, though my mind was racing 100 miles an hour. What could be so important that he would make me promise secrecy? Was it something about our family? Something about me? Or something I wasn't supposed to know at all? I swallowed hard, and he leaned closer, his eyes locking onto mine in a way that made me feel like the truth he was about to share could change everything. And honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready. For years, I'd watched my parents carefully, always noticing the little things, the way they whispered late at night, the subtle glances they exchanged when they thought I wasn't looking. Nothing ever seemed serious, just normal adult stuff, or so I thought. But that afternoon, I realized I had been wrong. My dad was hiding something big, and he trusted me to keep it. Me, the kid who could barely keep a secret about a birthday surprise. I remember pacing my room afterward, thinking about all the possibilities. Was it dangerous? Was it illegal? My mind ran wild, jumping from one scenario to another, each more dramatic than the last. I couldn't sleep that night, and even when I tried, his words kept echoing in my head. "Don't tell anyone." It was like a lock had been placed on my chest, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't unlock the calm inside me. The next morning, I kept pretending everything was normal at breakfast. Mom smiled at me like always, but I felt a distance now, an invisible line I wasn't allowed to cross. And then, something happened that I will never forget. Something completely unexpected. I had been carrying this secret for only a day, and suddenly, it was no longer just mine. Mom found out. I still don't know how she did it. Maybe it was intuition, maybe a slip of my tongue, but the moment she confronted us, the air changed. Everything shifted. The quiet corners of our home felt smaller, heavier, and suddenly I realized that some secrets aren't meant to be contained, no matter how tightly you try. And what followed after that? Well, it's something I couldn't have imagined, even in my worst nightmares. But before I can tell you what happened next, there's one thing you need to understand. The secret my dad shared, it wasn't just a family matter. It was bigger, way bigger, and it was about to turn everything I thought I knew upside down. Growing up, I always thought I knew my parents. My dad was quiet but steady, the kind of man who fixed things without a fuss and never complained. My mom, on the other hand, was warm, full of laughter, and always ready with a story from her childhood that somehow ended up teaching me some life lesson I didn't realize I needed at the time. They seemed ordinary, the kind of parents everyone says you're lucky to have, but sometimes, ordinary can hide extraordinary things. I had just turned 18, the age when you start noticing the little cracks in the world around you. College was starting soon, and I was more independent than I had ever been. Still, I came home every weekend, partly out of habit, partly because our house always felt safe. That is, until the day my dad pulled me into the kitchen. Up until that moment, nothing about our lives had hinted at anything unusual, at least nothing I could see. But in hindsight, maybe I had been missing the signs all along. My dad's secret, the one he made me promise to keep, wasn't something he could just casually tell me. There was a reason he chose me, his oldest child, the one who always asked questions and noticed details, and not my younger siblings. That alone made me uneasy. I remember sitting there, pretending to watch the steam curl from my coffee, while part of me hoped he'd forget the whole thing. But he didn't. He looked me square in the eyes, and I could tell he was counting on me. Then there's my mom. Sweet, perceptive, and impossibly sharp in ways she didn't even try to show. She had a way of sensing when something was off in our family, even before anyone said a word. Maybe that's why, despite my best efforts to hide it, she noticed something was wrong the next day. Maybe she saw it in my face, or maybe it was just that sixth sense moms have, the kind that makes you spill secrets you didn't even mean to reveal. Life had been normal until that day. School, homework, weekend dinners, the usual jokes at the dinner table. But that calm, ordinary rhythm of our lives was suddenly fractured. I felt like I was walking on a tightrope, balancing between keeping my dad's secret and hiding my unease from my mom. Every glance, every casual question she asked felt loaded, and I had to dance around the truth without giving anything away. What made it even harder was the sense that I didn't fully understand the situation yet. I could feel the weight of my dad's words pressing down, but I had no idea how deep it went. Every memory of him from my childhood, the small acts of care, the quiet guidance, suddenly seemed like it might have layers I'd never noticed. And the thought that my mom might find out at any moment made everything feel urgent, dangerous even. I started noticing little things, phone calls my dad would take in another room, whispers I wasn't meant to hear, the way my mom's eyes would linger a second too long on a glance I thought was meaningless. All these tiny details were pieces of a puzzle I couldn't yet solve. And then, just when I thought I could keep it contained, the first ripple hit. Something happened that made it impossible to pretend nothing had changed, and that's when I realized the secret wasn't just a private matter anymore. It had a life of its own, and it was starting to move. After that morning, nothing felt normal anymore. Every conversation at home carried an undercurrent I couldn't ignore. My dad acted like nothing had changed, smiling at the dinner table, making small jokes, but his eyes told a different story. There was tension there, tight and quiet, like a rope stretched too far and ready to snap. And my mom, well, she didn't say anything at first, but I could see her piecing things together, watching me, watching him, like she was waiting for the moment the truth slipped out. I tried to focus on school, on friends, on anything to distract myself, but the secret was always there, lurking. I would catch my dad staring off into space, his jaw tight, hands gripping a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking. And I started noticing the small things I had ignored before, locked drawers, hushed phone calls. That way he flinched when my mom asked simple questions about work or the car or dinner plans. Everything suddenly seemed layered, like our house was full of invisible walls I wasn't allowed to pass. Then came the nights. Sleep became impossible. My thoughts would spiral, imagining the worst. What if my dad's secret hurt someone? What if it destroyed our family? What if it was something I wasn't supposed to see? And all the while, the unspoken fear grew. What if mom found out before I could do anything about it? I tried talking to my friends, but how could I? I couldn't say a word. Every time someone asked me why I was so quiet, I just forced a smile and said, nothing, just tired. Even my siblings noticed, but I had to act normal. The more I tried to hide it, the heavier it got, like a storm building inside me that I couldn't control. One afternoon, I overheard a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. My mom was on the phone, her voice low, urgent, but her words were clipped, careful. I couldn't make sense of it, but I could feel the pieces of the secret starting to shift. The room felt colder, smaller, as if it were holding its breath along with me. And then, just when I thought I had a moment to breathe, I heard my dad's voice behind me, soft but sharp. Did you hear that? I froze. My heart pounded, my stomach twisted. In that instant, I realized this secret wasn't just heavy, it was alive, and it was about to explode. After that moment, nothing in our house felt normal. Every glance, every step I took, carried weight. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus, couldn't sleep properly. My mind replayed the words my dad had whispered over and over. Don't tell anyone. I wanted to tell someone, anyone, but I couldn't. The moment I opened my mouth, it felt like the air itself would explode around me. Days passed in this tense rhythm. My mom started asking more questions, subtle at first, testing the water. Did you talk to your dad about the car insurance? She asked one evening, casual, but her eyes were sharp, searching. I answered carefully, trying to keep my voice steady, but she didn't look convinced. And then there were the nights when I would hear the faintest murmurs from their room, voices so low I couldn't catch the words, but the urgency was clear. Something was building, something dangerous. I started noticing patterns I had never paid attention to before. My dad would disappear for long stretches, claiming work errands, but he wasn't always gone. My mom would leave the room suddenly, phone in hand, like she had sensed something she wasn't supposed to. And me? I was stuck in the middle, carrying a secret that felt heavier with each passing hour, a secret I didn't even fully understand yet. It got worse one night when I accidentally stumbled upon a folder on my dad's desk. Just a glimpse of it sent a shiver down my spine. Documents, photos, handwritten notes, things I wasn't supposed to see. My fingers itched to look closer, but I stopped myself. I didn't know what any of it meant, but I knew one thing. It was big, and it could change everything. The tension in the house became unbearable. My siblings sensed it too, retreating into their own rooms, leaving the house quiet and heavy with unspoken fears. I could feel the secret twisting around me, like a living thing, whispering that something was about to happen. My chest ached from the weight, my head throbbed with anxiety, and every small sound, the creak of a floorboard, the clatter of a dish, made my heart race. Then came the night that changed everything. My mom, who had been quiet and observant, finally confronted me. But it wasn't about what I had promised to keep. She asked a question I wasn't ready for, a question that made my stomach drop and my throat dry. And as I tried to answer, I realized something terrifying. The secret was no longer just my burden to bear. It was spilling out, creeping into every corner of our home, threatening to expose everything my dad had tried to hide. The room seemed to shrink around me. My dad's voice came from the other side of the door, low, urgent. You shouldn't have been there. My mom's eyes were wide, unreadable, dangerous in a way I had never seen before. And me? I was frozen, caught between a father's warning and a mother's suspicion, with a secret that had already begun to escape my control. I had no idea what was coming next, but I could feel it. Whatever my dad had told me, whatever my mom had sensed, it was about to break. And when it did, nothing would ever be the same. Just when I thought the worst was over, everything shifted again. My mom stepped closer, her voice shaking, but there was a strange edge to it, a mix of fear and anger I had never seen before. So you knew? And you didn't tell me? She demanded, her eyes darting to my dad. My dad's face went pale, and for a moment, I thought he might crumble right there. But then he did something I didn't expect. He nodded. Not a denial, not a justification, just a quiet, heavy nod. That's when my mom dropped the bomb. It's not just what he told you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's bigger, it's about all of us. And now it's out, whether we like it or not. I froze. My head spun, my heart pounding. Bigger? All of us. What could be so important that it swallowed the whole family? And how had she known before I even had a chance to explain? In that moment, I realized two terrifying truths. The secret wasn't just my dad's to share, and the moment had come when nothing could ever stay hidden again. Everything hit at once. My dad sank into a chair, hands gripping the table like he could hold the world together with sheer force, while my mom's eyes blazed with a mix of fury and fear. The air in the room was thick, heavy with tension, and I realized I was holding my own breath, waiting for the storm to break. Finally, my dad spoke, his voice low and raw. I didn't want you to know, but you needed to. And now, there's no turning back. My mom's gaze didn't soften. If anything, it grew sharper. You've been hiding this from me for months, she said, her voice trembling with disbelief. And I found out anyway. Why, of all people, did you tell him? I felt my heart pound against my chest. It wasn't just a secret anymore, it was a reckoning. And then my dad dropped the truth that I had been dreading to even imagine. The secret he had shared with me. It wasn't just about money, or mistakes, or family disputes. It was something that could ruin us, something that could destroy the lives we had built quietly over the years. It's about your life, he said, his eyes locking onto mine. All of it. And now, it's up to you to decide what happens next. Before I could process it, my mom reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. My hands trembled as I realized it wasn't addressed to her. It was addressed to me. Inside were letters, photos, evidence I didn't understand at first glance, but the implications were immediate and terrifying. Everything my dad had warned me about was true, and yet, it wasn't the whole story. The final blow came when my mom whispered, almost too softly to hear. He didn't tell you everything. And now, you have to choose who to trust. In that moment, I understood the full weight of the secret. I was no longer a bystander. I was the center of it. The secret wasn't just theirs, it was mine too. And the choice I made next could change everything. And just as I reached for the letters, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen. You thought you knew. You were wrong. I sat there, staring at the envelope in my hands, heart racing, mind spinning. Every memory of the past few days, every whispered word, every look from my parents, all came rushing back. The secret my dad had shared, the intuition my mom had acted on, the chaos that had filled our house. It all felt like pieces of a puzzle I was only now beginning to understand. I opened the letters slowly, each one revealing fragments of a truth I hadn't been ready for. It wasn't just about a mistake, a hidden decision, or something to hide from the world. It was about protection, about choices my parents had made to shield me, my siblings, and even themselves from consequences I couldn't have imagined. My dad's quiet demeanor, my mom's sharp intuition, they weren't just personality traits. They were the survival instincts of people who had faced something extraordinary and had carried it for years in silence. As I read, I realized the gravity of what they had asked of me, not just to keep a secret, but to understand the weight of responsibility, the fragility of trust, and the complexity of family. It was a lesson in humanity, in love, in fear, and in courage, all wrapped up in moments that, until now, had seemed ordinary. When I finally looked up, my parents were watching me closely. My dad's eyes held relief. My mom's held something softer than anger, pride, maybe, or hope. I took a deep breath and nodded. I understand now. I didn't need to say anything. Actions mattered more than words. The tension in the room eased, though a quiet awareness remained. Some secrets aren't just things to hide. They're things to learn from. I folded the letters carefully, setting them back in the envelope. Whatever had begun as a burden now felt like a bridge. A bridge between my parents and me, between the past we couldn't change and the future we could shape. Over the next few days, life began to return to a version of normal. My parents smiled again, a little more openly than before. My siblings played in the backyard, unaware of the storms that had passed, and I felt a quiet peace settle inside me. The secret hadn't vanished. It was still there, but it no longer carried the same weight of fear. Instead, it became a reminder. Families aren't just about the things you share when it's easy. They're about the trust, patience, and understanding that hold you together when everything else seems impossible. And yet, as I reached for my phone one evening, that unknown message from the mysterious number still glowed on the screen. You thought you knew. You were wrong. I hesitated, then smiled faintly. Maybe some mysteries never fully disappear, and maybe that was okay. Life isn't about knowing everything. It's about navigating the secrets, the challenges, and the unexpected twists with courage, empathy, and the people you love by your side. And for the first time in days, I felt ready to face whatever came next.